counting offspring, and this is if Jesus is God's only begotten Son, then how can angels and Christians also be God's sons? And so this brings us to that point of which you have three places in the Bible that you, first of all, you have angels that are called the sons of God, you have men that are called the sons of God, and you have Jesus, which is called the only begotten Son of God. And so when you begin to look at these things, you'll begin to see what's going on. So the very first one is, let's go to Matthew chapter 8 and verse number 29. Okay? And so it tells you, and suddenly they cried out, talking about the demons that were there in Matthew chapter 8, verse 29. What have we to do with you, Jesus? Look at what he said. You, Son of God. Have you come here to torment us before the time? Now, look at this for a minute. And this doesn't have really anything to do with the contradiction, okay, about Jesus being the only begotten Son of God. What did they ask him? What was the question they asked him there? Have you what?
What do you want with us? Have you come to punish us before our time?
Yeah. Have you come to punish us before our time? See, this is fascinating with this verse. Because you know what it's telling you?
They already knew their time's going to come.
They know that one of these days their time is up. And they know where they're going to. They don't know when. And they see Jesus coming in the flesh. So what does that mean? Have you come to punish us or torment us before our time? When Jesus came, the Jewish people didn't believe he was the Messiah. But who believed he was?
The demons.
The demons did. What man doesn't believe, the demons know. And they're saying, you're the only Son of God. You are. And they said, have you come? Hold on a minute. Why are you coming now? It isn't time yet, because they knew that Jesus was coming to save the world. And they knew that he hadn't done this yet. And you haven't saved the world yet, and so therefore you can't destroy us. Because you haven't come first. You've got to come back again. It's amazing to me that you find demons
Prophesize like that.
Yeah, and know. But yet so many times when people read this, they don't understand. Hold on a minute. I don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. The demons do. I don't believe that Jesus is coming again. The demons do. The greatest evangelists are demons. And the rich man who's in hell. He's telling that. Go to Matthew chapter 14 and verse number 33. Look at this. Then those who were in the boat came and worshiped him, saying, what?
You really are the Son of God.
Right. Truly you are the Son of God. So when you start talking about the Son of God, there's only one. Okay? But here's where the rub comes in. Go to Job chapter 1 and verse number 6. One day the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord asked Satan, where have you come from? Okay, so here, who is Satan in the sons of God? Who would come to present themselves before God along with Satan?
Angels, the Lord, and Satan.
Okay. If this was talking about man, how can man come to be before God and present themselves right now? You can't. You're in an unrighteous state, and therefore you would be destroyed. So if it's talking about Satan and during this period of time, the sons of God, what he's talking about are angels here. Now, who would these angels be?
For Satan's angels?
No. What about the angels that haven't fallen?
The ones that are standing around Jesus?
Yeah. And they come to present themselves to God. And God's saying to them, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. Okay? Because you got to remember this, okay? And remember, I have to sit down for a minute. Take it down.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm just tired. I've been standing most of the day. Remember back in the book of Genesis, a guy by the name of Abraham. Okay? Abraham had a wife, Sarah, and Abraham had a son-in-law or had a cousin, a nephew, by the name of Lot. Right? And there were two men that came to Abraham, or God speaking to Abraham and said, Abraham, I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Your nephew Lot is over there in that place. And so Abraham says, well, okay, if you're going to destroy it, and you want me to go over there, right? Yeah. Well, how about if I find 100 righteous people in there? Will you destroy it? No. If you can find 100 righteous people in that place, I won't destroy it. Well, how about 50? You can find 50, I won't destroy it. Well, how about 20? Okay. If you can find 20 righteous people out of all those hundreds of thousands of people in the two towns of Sodom and Gomorrah, I won't destroy it. Well, how about 10? Okay. If you can find 10, I won't destroy it. And so Abraham says, okay, well, hold on a minute. I have Lot and his wife. He has 3 daughters. Okay. And four daughters, I believe. 2 that are married. So there's 2, 4, 6. And then he's got 2 daughters. 2 daughters that are not married. So that gives me 8. Surely there's 8. There's got to be 2 more righteous people in this place. Well, remember what happened? There were 2 men that went on into Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were angels. They weren't actually men.
Angels?
They were angels. And they appeared as men. Okay? And when they appeared as men, they went to Lot, and they were to protect Lot and his family, because God was going to destroy the place. If you remember, while these 2 men were there, the men of the city saw the two men go into Lot's house. And so they came and banged on the door and said, hey, we know you got some male visitors. Bring them out here so we may know them. It was basically going to have a homosexual relationship with those angels. And that's what they were saying when they were knowing. That's why it's called Sodom. Okay? That's where we get our word sodomy. Okay? And so anyway, those are two of the sons of God, which are angels. So there were times, still are, that the angels that did not fall, they come to God and they say, what do you want us to do? Remember, they did that. They went and took the prayer, the answer of God's prayer, to Daniel. Gabriel, who came and took the message to Mary that she was going to have a child. Okay? These are the sons of God that are presenting themselves before God, asking, what can we do? What do you want me to do? Now, in this, Satan also came during this, which he still does. The angels are still presenting themselves before God, and Satan is still presenting himself before God. And what Satan does is he comes to God, and again, he accuses he's the accuser of the brethren, and he also has to get permission from God to do anything to God's children. Satan cannot do anything to you and me as God's children without getting God's permission. Okay? Now, when he gets God's permission to do what he's going to do, then what he does is he goes to his demons that have fallen, and they get direction from him. They don't present themselves before God. They get their direction from Satan. Okay? So what you have in Job 1:6 is the angels that did not fall in Satan. And what you have today is still the same thing. The angels who did not fall and Satan, they still come to God to get marching orders. So in Job 1:6, when it talks about that, it talks about those as believers. Now go to Matthew chapter 5 in verse number 9. In Matthew chapter 5, in verse number 9, Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, and what did he say?
Bless those people who make peace.
For they will what?
They will be called his children.
His children, or they will be called the sons of God. Okay? It didn't say that they will be called the Son of God.
Sons.
They will be called the sons of God. Okay? Now, go to Luke chapter 3 in verse number 38. Genealogy of Jesus, starting and going back, and the genealogy in Matthew goes all the way back to Adam. Now, look at what he says. He's the son of Enos, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, son of God. Now look at that son of God very, very closely. Is it capitalized or lowercase? when you see that in that genealogy coming down through the Son, it's consistent. Every one of those are all lowercase. And when you talk about the Son of God there, it is lowercase. Okay? Whenever you go into the Bible and you see the reference of Son of God and the Son is uppercase, it always refers to Jesus. Whenever you see it in lowercase, it will be either referring to either human or believers or the angels. Okay? And the reason that I say believers is, how do we become a son of God?
Accept Jesus.
We accept Him. If we never ever accept Him, then we are not adopted into His family.
We are His creation, but not His.
Exactly. We are not His friend, we are His enemy. And so, when it talks about the only begotten Son of God, it is not a contradiction. Now, let me say something to you. How many of you all have ever delved into Mormonism? Okay. Here's what the Mormons believe. The Mormons basically will believe that what God did was God had sex with an angel and created multitudes of souls. Okay? And what that happens is, you and I, when we are born, we take upon one of those souls that God had procreated. Okay? Inhabits our body, and then we come down here to this earth. Now, God only has so many children. That's all He's got. Okay? And if you die, you basically, that soul will come back and be given another chance if you haven't, followed Him. This is why the Mormons have a lot of children. They have a lot of children because they want to get all of these children and get them to be good so that they can go into the realm of heaven. Okay? And so this is why you find sometimes, and they will say that, okay, those are the sons of God. But the problem is, we are not anything like Jesus. Jesus is the only begotten Son of God. And how do we know? Because there's only been one virgin birth. Jesus was the only one that was begotten by God. We are not begotten by God. We are begotten by our Father, whoever that may be. We are adopted into His family. And so when somebody comes up to you and say, oh, we're all God's children, and you'll hear this. You'll hear people say this all the time, that every one of us in this world are all God's children. And that is a falsehood. We are not all God's children. Okay? We are, number one, we are not begotten by God. Only Jesus is. And the only other way that we get into the family of God, to become a son of God, is to be a believer. Everybody ever created is not a son of God.
Well, my question is, what about the people that lived and were born before Jesus was born?
They had a chance, okay? And this, you had people like Abraham, you had people like Noah, you had people even like Lot, who sometimes we say, man, how in the world could he stay there? But the Bible says that every day that the righteous soul of Lot was vexed by all that was going on around about him where he was at. So even Lot was a righteous person that believed in God. All of these people that were prior to God, God spoke to them by the prophets and others, pointing to them and saying, there is coming a Messiah. I am the God, but he is coming. And what they would do is they would put their belief in God. They did this a lot of, and you would find it a lot of times by their offerings, how their offerings were, how they lived, and things like that. Prior to that, those are still sons of God. And again, the one thing that I have to explain, out of the book of Ephesians, okay, prior, can I write on the board?
It's your board.
It's my board. Yeah, good marker. Maybe I have a good marker. Okay. In the New Testament, there was a story about the rich man and Lazarus. Okay? Remember? Okay. Now, so here you have the rich man, and then you have Lazarus. Okay. Now prior to Lazarus, there was a guy by the name of Abraham. Right? And Abraham died. Okay. So here you have Abraham, who is already dead. The Bible says that the beggar Lazarus died. And what happened to him?
Jesus came back and raised him from the dead.
Well, no, that's the other Lazarus. That was Lazarus, who was the brother of Mary and Martha.
Okay.
Okay, this is another Lazarus. There's two Lazaruses in the Bible. Okay, now this one was the beggar that lay at the rich man's gate every day and begged for food, and the rich man wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
Now and somebody asked me this question the other day, and was what happened when we died. The Bible says that when Lazarus died, that he was carried into the bosom of Abraham. Okay? So now what you have is you have Abraham and you have Lazarus. You got some others that are there. Okay? So now what you have is you have this spot here where you have Abraham and Lazarus, and you got Moses and all these other people. Okay? But he's seen this. Now the Bible says that the rich man, he died, and he went to where? This was a place called paradise. And the rich man, when he died, he basically went into this place down here. And this is a place that was called torment. Yeah, no, it's not purgatory or limbo. Okay, they go to one of two places, either paradise or torment. Okay, and then you read the rest of the story, and the rest of the story says that the rich man lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and he saw Abraham, but he saw Lazarus in Abraham's bosom. Now, very important part. He says, hey, Abraham, he says, can you do me a favor? I'm over here in torment and I'm thirsty. Can you do me a favor and have Lazarus take and dip his finger in water and touch the tip of my tongue so that it will quench my thirst? And Abraham said this. He says, Kent, there is a great gulf between you and us. You can't cross it, and we can't cross it. Now you think about this for a minute. How would you like to be in torment, thirsty, seeing water, but you can't get to it?
That's even more torment.
You're thirsty, very thirsty, and there is water right in front of you, and you can't get to it. And somebody over here that you can see can't get to it and bring it back. Okay? Now, so he says, nope, can't do that. He says, okay, well then can you do me a favor then? Can you send Lazarus back, because I've got 5 brothers. They're up here. And if they don't change their ways, they're coming down here with me. He says, nope, they got Moses and Elijah and the prophets, and if they won't believe them, they're not going to believe anyone that comes back from the dead. Okay? So now what happened was, these people are still in this state, waiting for Jesus to come back. And in the book of Ephesians, it talks about when Jesus died. I believe it's in Ephesians chapter 2 or chapter 5. I can't remember. I can't remember which one it was. But I want to say 2. But it says that when Jesus died, he says he went. And what he did was he led those in captivity captive. Or what he did was this. See, Satan is up here. These people are waiting to experience that resurrection. Well, they haven't experienced it yet because Jesus had died. Jesus was the firstborn of the resurrection. And so what happened was, when Jesus did, what he did was, remember, it said that he became, when he died, he took over the keys to death, hell, and the grave. So what he did was, this Abraham and Lazarus and all these people, they were sitting down here waiting for him to come. What he did was, and this is where and this is this whole big discussion that some people said that Jesus went down into the belly of the earth for 3 days and he preached to those. No, he didn't. He didn't preach to them. Okay? What he did was, he went down there and he says, y'all ready to go home? You ready to get out of this place? You ready to experience the resurrection that we had promised you? Okay, follow me. So follow me. And so what he did was, this place that Satan thought he had the keys to and could hold them, now Jesus does. So what did Jesus do? He basically liberated all of them. Okay? And so now what happens is, we get to go to this place where all of these are at when we die. But remember what it said? It said, and the angels carried Lazarus into the bosom of Abraham. When we die, the angels are carrying us back to where Jesus is. Because Satan is trying his best, even in death, to get us from going where we're supposed to be going. Okay? So, anyway, the rest of what I believe happens is this, that now all that space is vacated, and you have to understand one thing. The Bible says that every time a lost person dies, that this place here, or hell, because eventually torment's going to be dumped into a place called hell. Because hell was only meant to handle Satan and his demons. And every time a lost person dies, then this place has to expand to accommodate one more. Now you think about this for a minute. If I built, let's just say you collected marbles, and I built something that would handle only 99 marbles, and I got one more to make 100. How am I going to squeeze that one more into that spot that was only made for 99? What I have to do is I have to build one more spot on there to cover that 100th. If I collect another one, I have to build just enough more to cover that. There's no more. And this is what people don't understand about hell. And that is also one of the punishments. Heaven is vast open spaces. Hell is a closed spot. And you think about it, would you like being confined in a spot that you cannot see anything, but you can feel the breathing on your neck? You can hear the breathing in your ears, but you can't lift your arms up because there's no space. And people are crowding you out. And this is where he says there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. You ever tried turn around to tell somebody, get off of me, you know? Get off my space. You know? Quit following me too close. And so you begin to see some of these happening. So again, when you're counting offspring, how many begotten sons does God have? One. Okay. Now, this one's kind of one of those that sometimes they come out with some of these that are absolutely, you think, where do they come up with some of these stupid questions? Like, can God do, is there anything that God can't do?
You can take away our free will.
Huh?
You won't take away our
Yeah.
free will.
But some people will say, well, okay, you tell me God can do anything, right? And so the stupid questions when I was growing up is, okay, if you believe that God can do anything, then can God build a rock big enough that he can't move it? That's dumb. What's the answer? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, it's one of those things.
I got my mustard seed.
You got your mustard seed? Yes. Yes. Okay. Go to Matthew chapter 10, verse number 5 and 10.
Matthew 10.
Matthew chapter 10. Five through 10. Jesus gets his 12, he's picked them out, and look at what he says. Do not go into the way of the Gentiles, do not enter into a city of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, thy kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold nor silver, nor copper in your money belts, nor bag for your journey, nor two tunics, nor sandals, nor staff. For a worker is worthy of his food. Now, what did he tell them? Basically, whatever you got on, hit the road, Jack, and I'll provide for you. Okay. Now, go with me over into Mark. Chapter 6. Verses, what did I say? 8 and 9. Now, it says, he commanded them to take nothing for their journey except, okay, except your staff only. No bag, no bread, no copper in your money belts, but to wear sandals and not to put on 2 tunics. But hold on a minute. Up in Matthew chapter 10, he told them, don't take any staffs. In Mark, he tells them, bring your staff. My version says walking stick, but basically the same thing. Then if you go over to Luke chapter 9, verses 1 through 3, you get the same, almost the same wording out of Luke as you did in Matthew. Okay? And in Luke, he says, take nothing for the journey, neither staffs, nor bags, nor bread, nor money, and do not have 2 tunics apiece. So hold on a minute. Matthew, he says, no staff. Mark, he says, a staff. Luke, he says, no staff. I'm sorry, but 2 out of 3 says majority wins, right? And if that's what you're doing, then you say, okay, well, hold on, there's a contradiction. Because he told him in Matthew and Luke not to take a staff, but then when I look at it at Mark, he's telling him to take a staff. So there appears on the face of this, there appears to be a discrepancy. The problem is that what you've got to do is you got to go back to the original language, okay? And what you get is in the book of Matthew, he uses a word, Matthew does, and it's a word to provide. And the Greek word is KTAOMAI, okay? And what that word means is to get or acquire, okay? So if I look at it in this way in Matthew, then here's what he says. Do not go into the way of the Gentiles. Do not enter into the city of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, I need you to go preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I'm going to give you the power to heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, and cast out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Provide neither gold nor silver in your money belts, nor bag for your money, nor 2 tunics, nor sandals. Here's what he's saying. In this provide, I don't want you to go acquire gold nor silver nor copper in your money belts, or a bag for your journey, or 2 tunics, nor sandals, nor staffs. I don't want you to go get this stuff. What I want you to do is what you got with you, bring it. And I'll provide. Don't go back home and get your money to put in your belts. If you've got $5 in your money belt, that's what you need to just take off with. Don't go back home and get the $50 that you've saved. You got a tunic on. Don't go back home and get another tunic to have a change of clothes.
But if you got a staff, take it.
And if you've got a staff, you walk, because most of the time they all had walking sticks back then. Okay? Because there were sometimes they had some rough terrain. And if you've ever gone hiking, I'll tell you what, a cane or a walking stick hiking sure helps in climbing some of that rough terrain. Without having to bend over and crawl up, you can still stay upright and make better time to go from the one spot to the other. So he's saying, no, I don't want you to go back home and get anything. I want you to just take off with what you got right now and go on. Mark, he says to do this. And Mark uses a broader word in there. And see, this is where, again, we start talking about the translation, trying to translate it from the original language of Greek here into English. And when you look at it in the Greek, they're using 2 different words, but yet we have interpreted it as one word. Don't take your staffs. But what he's using here is when in Mark, where he tells them, he says to take nothing for the journey. He uses the word airo, A-I-R-O, and what that word means is to lift or take up. I don't want you to go grabbing anything to bring with you. I want you to just take what you got and let's just, move on. And so what ends up happening a lot of times is, if you look in the Bible, Luke a lot of time will kind of parallel Matthew. Okay, now some writers, some scholars believe that what ends up happening is that when Luke was writing his book, he was basically, and remember this, okay, and this is what you got to understand. The book of Matthew is written to basically the Jewish people, talking about the Messiah, okay? Written from the perspective of, here's the Greek, and let's interpret it back into a Jewish setting. Luke doesn't do that. What Luke does is he takes it from a Jewish setting and brings it to a Gentile setting. So what he'll do a lot of times is he's taking the words of Matthew, and God's having two translations going on here, one to the Jew and one to the Gentile. The Gentile is giving us more deeper to help us to understand some of these things. And some believe that when Luke was actually writing his book, in the book of Luke, that he didn't have the scroll of Mark. So he's kind of giving another viewpoint, God is, of the same actions, but to two different groups of people. Okay? And so this is why sometimes that you'll see this. And so Luke was to tell them, okay, you're not to depart from us by taking a lot of things and going with them, okay? That what they needed to do was not to focus on acquiring things, but rather to focus on preaching about the kingdom of heaven. Now, isn't that the same thing he tells us to do? Don't look to acquire things down here on this earth, but rather to acquire things in heaven. Our job is not to see how much we can get here, but rather how much really we can do for the Lord and how much we can acquire when we get there. Hello, this is Pastor Chuck Cotton from Calvary Baptist Church. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking the time out to either listen to our sermon or to watch it on video. We are grateful that you've actually taken the time, and hope and pray that it has been a blessing to you as it was to us as we delivered it to our congregation. We ask if you have any questions whatsoever that you email us at pastorchuck@calvarybaptistmiddletown.org, or you could come in and give us a phone call, if you would please, at area code 513-423-7251. I'd like to take this opportunity to also invite you to come to our church and visit us, if you would please. We actually have small groups on Sunday morning starting at 9:30, with our morning worship following at 10:45. Prior to our morning small groups, we also provide donuts with coffee, milk, orange juice, a time for fellowship, get to know each other, have a good time before we actually break out into our small groups for Sunday. Our worship services are uplifting, they're fast moving, and everything in our service is just a fast pace. But we do take time every once in a while to slow down as we feel the Holy Spirit moving, and we never want to hinder it in any way. We also have on Sunday evening, during the school year, we have Awana, and Awana starts with a Puggles, actually from age 2 all the way up through high school. And during that period of time, we also have a worship service. Both of these start at 6 o'clock and end at 7:30. Our Wednesday night, we have a Bible study, which starts at 7. We generally finish about 8:15. We would love for you to come and visit with us. Don't have to dress up, just come as you are, because to us, it doesn't matter. You're a child of God, a creation of His, and so to us, you're important to everything that we do. Our motto here is building the kingdom one life at a time, and we hope that we have a chance to visit with you, get to know you as you get to know us. So thank you, and may God bless you.